What if I told you that Pluribus episode 5 didn't just hint at a dark twist? It practically screamed it in our faces from the very beginning, and most viewers still missed it. And what if the real horror wasn't the infected, or the mysterious hive mind, or even the milk carton substance? What if it was the slow revelation that the infected have been doing something unspeakable, something disturbingly efficient since episode 2? Pluribus episode 5 ends with a moment so unsettling that it forces you to rewatch the entire season with new eyes. Because suddenly every offhand detail, every background shot, every "why did the camera linger on that" moment clicks into place like a trap snapping shut. And when Carol steps into that cold storage facility in the final scene, when she follows that barcode trail right into the industrial heart of the hive mind, you realize you were led here on purpose. The writers laid breadcrumbs, not to tease us, but to test how much we were willing to ignore. Episode 5 isn't just a plot twist. It's the mask falling. And once you see what's behind it, you can't unsee it. So let's break down how Pluribus built one of its most disturbing reveals.
It's this. So what is this?
Not through shock value, not through cheap horror, but through slow, deliberate, brilliant foreshadowing that's been hiding in plain sight since episode 2. Pluribus episode 5 starts with Carol doing something that feels almost painfully hopeful. She tries to reach out to others like her, people who might be immune to the hive mind's influence. She doesn't do it arrogantly or desperately. She does it like someone who wants connection, validation, clarity. She sends out message after message, trying to share her discoveries about the hive mind, expecting maybe curiosity, maybe resistance, but at least something. Instead, she's met with absolute silence. That moment is more important than it looks. It sets the tone for the entire episode. Carol is alone in a world where everyone else has already chosen their side.
They completely abandoned the city I live in.
She is the outlier, the glitch, the one human being who refuses to surrender to the greater good. And that emotional isolation is exactly what makes her next step so compelling, because instead of backing down, she pushes deeper into the hive's world, right into a mystery that nobody else even thinks is a mystery. And the moment that mystery appears, it's subtle. The infected drinking from those nondescript milk cartons. It's weird, almost eerie, but Pluribus frames it as routine, something normal for them. Carol sees it, feels that chill of wrongness, and instead of doing what most people would, shrugging it off, she follows the thread. That one choice exposes everything. What makes episode 5's ending so chilling is the buildup. The fact that Pluribus has already been showing us the milk since early episodes without ever telling us what it really is. But episode 5 is when Carol finally makes the connection the audience was never meant to fully make until now. She follows the clues, the faint barcode labeling, the obscure company branding, the offhand reuse posters plastered across the supermarket like propaganda, reminding the infected of their duty. Everything points to a system designed to recycle, repurpose, convert, and nourish. But nourish what? Exactly. And with what? When Carol finally traces the cartons to a cold storage facility, the imagery shifts. Even Carol's breathing changes. She's stepping into a place where efficiency has replaced morality, a place the infected treat as sacred. And the moment she sees what's inside, her reaction says everything. Pluribus doesn't show gore. It doesn't have to. Her expression, the shock, the horror, the clarity, is enough. Something she sees confirms her worst fear. Or maybe it confirms something much worse, that the infected are no longer human in the ways that matter. They see bodies as resources. They see death as a supply chain. They see the fallen not as people to mourn, but as assets to process. And suddenly, the milk carton liquid isn't just strange. It's a warning. Here's where the show's brilliance hits. This twist didn't come out of nowhere. Pluribus has been telegraphing cannibalistic efficiency since episode 2, and the clues were right there. Obvious enough to notice, but subtle enough to dismiss. Episode 2, for example, shows infected individuals calmly gathering the dead, not grieving, not burying, collecting, like workers following a protocol. We saw them carrying bodies into a milk company's truck. At the time, the scene felt like eerie world building, a moment meant to highlight how alien the infected have become. But now, in hindsight, it's the equivalent of the show flashing a neon sign that said, "Pay attention, this is important." Because why a milk company's truck? Why that specific vehicle? Pluribus doesn't waste symbols. The truck was the first visual link between the dead and the liquid the infected consumed. But the writers knew most viewers wouldn't make that leap yet. It was too soon, too outrageous, too speculative. So they dropped a second breadcrumb. Episode 4 brings us back to the milk carton. This time, Zosha is drinking from it in the hospital, and the camera once again holds a few seconds longer than it should. She drinks it like someone healing, someone regaining strength, someone who needs whatever is inside. And that moment is unbelievably important. Zosha isn't fully infected, but she's deeply connected to the hive mind in ways we're still understanding. The liquid is not food for infected bodies. It's fuel for the hive mind connection. It's restoration, nourishment, stability. It helps them synchronize. It helps them survive. Pluribus was showing us the truth, but disguising it as character detail. The audience wasn't supposed to get it yet. But when you revisit the scene after episode 5, it hits with a completely new energy. That carton wasn't medicine. It wasn't nutrients. It wasn't a supplement. It was a product of the very system Carol uncovers in cold storage. And when you realize what that implies, Episode 4 becomes a turning point you didn't even know was there. Episode 5 then cements the twist visually using something even more subtle, the reuse posters. They appear multiple times, framed almost religiously. A mantra, a rule, a core belief of the infected. Reuse is their ideology. It's why they collect bodies. It's why they produce the liquid. It's why they consume it. That single word, reuse, becomes horrifying once you see the cold storage. Because the infected always talked about efficiency, about resource management, and about the hive's sustainability. We thought they meant eco-friendly behavior or community-based optimization. No, they meant something darker, but sanitized through the lens of hive mind logic. Something only possible when emotion is gone and empathy is obsolete. And then there's the wolf scene. Arguably the most symbolic moment in the episode and one of the most quietly devastating pieces of imagery in the series so far. Carol defending Helen's grave from a pack of wolves is not just a metaphor. It's a thematic thesis statement for episode 5. The wolves represent what the infected have become. Creatures of instinct operating as a pack, driven by efficiency and hunger rather than humanity. Wolves are not evil, they are efficient. They survive by consuming the dead, by cleaning the remains nature leaves behind. They recycle the fallen. Sound familiar? The infected, stripped of empathy and individuality, behave the same way. They collect bodies not out of cruelty, but out of cold logic. They don't kill, they harvest. The infected aren't monsters in the traditional sense. They're organisms obeying a system, and that's what makes them terrifying. Meanwhile, Carol stands between the wolves and Helen's grave, not because she thinks she can win, but because grief still matters to her. Memory still matters. She is literally fighting for the right to mourn. That fight is the clearest sign that Carol is the last real human in a world that has normalized the unthinkable. She isn't just defending a grave. She's defending the concept of dignity itself. By the time we reach the cold storage reveal, the episode has woven symbolism, foreshadowing, character, emotion, and thematic world building into a single devastating punchline. The infected might be cannibals, not in the traditional sense, not through gore or savagery, but through a clinical, mechanized process that treats the dead as raw materials. That's why the twist feels so disturbing, not because Pluribus shows us horror, but because it shows us the loss of humanity disguised as perfect efficiency. The infected aren't consumed by hunger, they're consumed by logic. They have adopted a world where death is a resource and recycling the dead is simply optimization. And yet, even as the evidence piles up, Pluribus refuses to explicitly confirm the cannibalism. That's what makes the twist so effective. It leaves us suspended in the discomfort of inference. It forces us to sit with the dread, to question what Carol saw, to wonder just how deep this efficiency doctrine goes. And because the show won't say it outright, the audience becomes complicit. we have to finish the thought ourselves. And finishing that thought is exactly what makes episode 5 so unforgettable. Pluribus episode 5 delivers one of the most chilling, slow-burn twists on modern TV, not because it shocks, but because it reveals that the horror was always right there, hiding in the corners of earlier episodes, waiting for us to finally pay attention. The milk cartons, the body collection, Zosa's recovery drink, the wolf metaphor, the reused propaganda. Every single one of these moments forms a puzzle piece. And episode 5 doesn't just put the puzzle together. It turns it around and shows you the picture on the other side. A picture of a world where efficiency has replaced ethics, where logic has replaced empathy, where humans have become a resource to extract rather than lives to mourn. And standing in the center of that picture is Carol, the last person still fighting to protect something as fragile and powerful as humanity. Episode 5's ending isn't just a twist, it's a warning. And the scariest part is this: they haven't even shown us the full truth yet.